I'm divorced from my son's mom, and she took the easy way out of the financial arrangements. Basically, I got stuck paying for certain things, like our son's private school and extracurricular activities, where she's responsible for their health insurance and medical bills and their nanny. She doesn't pay much for coverage, and our sons don't need medical care until now. Our son, Pear Tween, has a tooth growing from the roof of his mouth, and it needs to be removed quickly. It's not a simple procedure because he needs to be put under anesthesia, and we have to go to a pediatric oral surgeon. We eventually found a very good pediatric oral surgeon, and it'll come out to be $3,000. It's that much because dental insurance doesn't cover much, and an anesthesiologist is expensive. Half had to be paid when the appointment was confirmed, and half the day of the appointment. My ex is asking me if I was going half. I said, nope. The bill is your problem, not mine. This is what you wanted, remember? You spent the last few years with so few childcare expenses that you got used to it. She went on to say that she doesn't have that kind of cash lying around, and it doesn't make sense to put it on a credit card with interest rates. I told her to go sell blood. I don't care. And yes, I actually budgeted my money and can pay all of it, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. She ended up having to take a loan from her credit union to pay for the surgery. Our son was always going to get his surgery, and there was no delay. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for holding your wife to her side of the bargain. When you didn't pick up the slack for her, she found a way to do it herself. That's fine. And you two should probably have a conversation about big unexpected expenses. $3,000 isn't too bad from what your financial situations sound like. But if it were $30,000 or some other amount, neither of you could be expected to pay a loan without incurring significant hardship. You should have a plan now. She didn't want to put it on the credit card because of the interest? If the surgery was delayed in any way, it's her fault. How in the heck is the interest his problem? She chose to take on the occasional expenses, while OP got the guaranteed ones. I don't think he sounds like an idiot, but I do agree that this is the perfect time to discuss these things and review the agreement. Do you need to put in writing that your kid should have a better insurance plan, or that your ex needs to start putting money into a health account? Maybe. You are the idiot. When you have a child with an ex, you are supposed to love your child more than you hate your ex. You're clearly doing the opposite. The well-being of your child should be more important to you than spitting on your ex. You're a bad parent. For the sake of your children, you two need to start acting like co-parents instead of squabbling toddlers. A nanny usually isn't an occasional expense and usually isn't cheap. Also, insurance and regular checkups aren't cheap either. Because I was this kid once, and believe me, he knows about the squabbling. His dad said what he did, and so on, and it's making him feel bad. Way to upset a kid who has to go through a scary procedure. OP, you're right about the money, but you must take a deep breath and lose the vitriol. There's no way it's not affecting your super cute son. Please don't put him through years of this. Disagree. Give an inch, she'll take a mile. They both knew she could pay with a credit card or a loan. She knew kids were expensive and needed medical appointments, so she should have always been saving for it. The lack of planning on her part isn't OP's fault. Yep, everyone on here saying that you're the idiot is living in a dreamland. If you took their advice, your ex would stick you with everything. The bottom line is she figured it out and it got done. If you said he had never had the surgery, you would be the idiot. But sticking to your agreement and not wavering just because it's inconvenient for her is not bad. It's life. My late wife and I invested in a small winter cabin years ago. I'm the owner now after her passing. My son, 22, is getting married to his soon-to-be wife in a month. They had no money for a destination honeymoon. They could barely plan the wedding. He asked if they could spend their honeymoon in my winter cabin, and I agreed, but under the condition that they pay me. He acted shocked and tried to argue that it was his mom's cabin too, but I pointed out how I'm the owner now and that I pay to maintain it. He got upset and accused me of being materialistic and selfish after I'd already been unhelpful with the wedding. I told him I did the same thing with his aunt, and it wasn't personal. He left with his fiancée and told the family about it. Now I'm being scolded left and right, told to let him use the cabin, and shamed for asking for money. Edit. I already gave their wedding gift and told him a million times that getting married so soon was not a good idea, but he refused my advice and had no regard for my opinion on the situation. You are the idiot. It's your son for his honeymoon. Are you going to charge your son? Honestly, when you never hear from him, rarely see him, and have no relationship with any future potential grandchildren, I want you to remember this moment, the moment when you typed all that out and found nothing wrong with charging your son to use your family cabin. I wish you good luck, my friend, especially when you're much older and maybe need help from your family. Life is long, and the arc of the moral universe, as they say, bends towards justice. If you genuinely want to resolve this, apologize to your son. Tell him how happy you'd be to have him use your cabin, and that you know it would have made his mother happy to know that he would be beginning his married life there. It wasn't personal. It is entirely personal and based on the disapproval of the marriage. I'd love to know why you won't gift to stay at the cabin for your son, who just got married. Do you not like him? Is your greed more important than your child? Did he poop in your cornflakes? You paid to maintain the cabin, whether it's in use or not. You could have done a nice thing for your son that cost you nothing and still tried to stiff him. Oh boy, sounds like a dad who'll find a new wife and rewrite his will to leave everything to her and any future kids. He should just plan on never seeing any grandkids, although it sounds like he wouldn't want to anyways. I hope he comes to regret everything when he's older. The "it's my mom's cabin too" suggests that he's not a full father, like a stepdad that hasn't taken full fatherhood status in his own mind. He says son, but he really means my late wife's son. All the emotions make more sense to me that way. OP, if I were your late wife, seeing you treat my baby that way, I'd be rolling over in my grave and spending every minute haunting your butt. My wife, 39, and I, 41 male, have been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids of our own, a young child and a preschooler, and my wife has a daughter, Mary, from a previous relationship, teen. My wife and her ex have split custody, and this year was supposed to be her ex's year to have their daughter for Christmas. But Mary has been fighting with her dad lately because she feels he's too strict. He's not, but that doesn't matter. He just has different rules for her when she's at his house, and Mary thinks that isn't fair. Since Mary was supposed to be with her dad for Christmas, we made plans to fly out of state to visit my family for the holidays. But last weekend, Mary was at her dad's, and they got into an argument. Mary returned to our house and told us that she didn't want to spend Christmas with her dad anymore. My wife immediately jumped to say that Mary could just come with us instead. But it wasn't that simple. My wife and her ex have a clause in their custody agreement that requires the approval of both parents to take Mary over state lines. My wife specifically requested this clause at the time their agreement was made. We've asked for and gotten Mary's dad's approval for vacations and vice versa. I reminded my wife of this and said that she'll need to talk to her ex before we try to make any travel plans for Mary. She called her ex, and he said he still wants Mary to spend Christmas with him and that he wants to try and talk to her to smooth things over. However, Mary says she doesn't want to talk to him at all. My wife explained this to her ex, and he said he wouldn't give permission to take Mary with us on our trip. He said he understands that Mary's mad at him, but he doesn't believe that it's fair that we take her with us for the holiday when it's supposed to be his time with Mary. His main point is that Mary spent the past 2 Christmases with us. Last year because of their custody agreement, and the previous year because of COVID restrictions. Personally, I completely see his point. Mary's mad at him, but he still wants to work it out and spend the holidays with her. My wife thinks he's being vindictive and not looking out for Mary's best interest. My wife wants us to now change our plans and stay home instead of going to see my family. I told her I didn't want to do that. We've had these plans for months, and I'm looking forward to seeing my family for the holidays too. It's been 3 years since we've spent Christmas with them. I suggested to my wife that we all sit down and talk about this and work something out so that her ex and Mary can spend the holiday together. But she got mad at me for taking his side instead of supporting her and Mary. Both my wife and Mary are now angry at me for not wanting to change our Christmas plans to accommodate Mary. Of course, I'm not expecting everyone to be happy about this situation. I'm just trying to find a compromise that brings us back to our original plans. Am I the idiot? Edit. Mary's mad at her dad because she feels his rules regarding her curfew and car use are unfair. Mary has a driver's license but no car of her own. When she's at her dad's, he only allows her to have one friend in the car with her at a time. He also has an 11 p.m. curfew for her on weekends. She stayed out until almost 1 a.m. the last time she was there, and they argued about it. Not the idiot. It sounds like your wife likes Mary being mad at her father because she jumped on telling Mary that she didn't need to abide by the custody agreements instead of being willing to sit down with her ex and Mary and work something out. She's also refusing to even discuss options with you and instead is demanding you give up seeing your family to do things her way. Please tell her that you and your kids will be keeping your original plans since she isn't open to discussion or compromise, and she can stay home or go with you, her choice. I just checked. The world does not revolve around Mary. It's her turn to spend Christmas with her dad. Her dad won't agree to a change in plans, which in my opinion is reasonable. Her dad has done nothing wrong other than have a few rules that Mary doesn't like, and you and your wife have already made plans that don't include Mary. Mary can just suck it up, in my opinion. In 2 years, she can do what she wants. For context, my sister can stay here. Her dog cannot. I, 29 female, have a 5-person household. My kids are a tween, a younger tween, and a young child. My husband is 31. My sister, 19, recently became homeless with her toddler son and dog. I'm her only option at this point. Our parents are scum, and we have no family that isn't estranged. She asked if she could stay here, and has admitted there's no plan for the foreseeable future. She's still determining how long she'll be here. She only works part-time, so it's difficult for her to save. I told her she could stay here and so could my nephew, but the dog is not welcome in my home. I have many reasons for this. The main one is I'm not too fond of dogs. The other reason being that I have cats, and my sister's dog already attacked a cat back last year. More reasons, well, I just don't want it here. And I have the space, yard-wise. That's not the issue. I simply don't have the time, energy, or patience for her animal. I'm also not going to be feeding the animal, and I already know that she struggles as it is. I have no problem helping feed her or my nephew, but I'm not footing an extra bill for a dog. I didn't tell her all of this directly, but she does know my stance on dogs, and she also knows that I felt she should have never gotten the dog to begin with, because she's never been what could be considered financially stable. She's had the dog for 2 years. All I said was she and my nephew could stay for as long as needed, but the dog couldn't. She was immediately at my throat, questioning why I felt it was appropriate to ask her to get rid of her son's baby. I told her those were my stipulations, and I didn't have the energy to argue, considering I'm already offering up a lot. My boys will now have to share a room just to give her and my nephew a room. She hung up after crying and saying that I was being heartless. Am I the idiot? Edit. I told her to ask the child's grandparents to take the dog, but she's dead set on not wanting to separate her son and the dog. Not the idiot. Are our pets beloved family members? Yes. Is your sister in a vulnerable situation and desperately trying to keep her family together? No doubt. Does that mean that you should have to share a house with an animal that's already attacked one of your pets and whose requirements for care and feeding will likely end up being footed by you? Absolutely not. I understand your sister's situation, but she can look into having someone foster the dog or give it to a no-kill shelter. Her kid is a toddler. He's not going to remember the dog. Sister tried to use that as an emotional appeal, but it falls flat. Teenagers are rarely great dog owners in the best of circumstances. A teenager with a toddler, a job, and almost no support system definitely isn't the best home for a dog. OP, you're doing both your sister and her dog a favor. Yep, beggars can't be choosers. But unfortunately, I guess her son and dog can be together, either at his grandparents' or a shelter. She needs to get her priorities straight and make compromises. The lack of gratitude on her part for you supporting her for the foreseeable future is astounding. It sounds like she has a lot of growing up to do. I have 3 kids. My husband and I worked hard to raise them and get them to be productive adults, and they are. I'm proud of all 3. They were great kids and have become pretty good adults, if I do say so myself. When my oldest daughter married a widower who already had a toddler, my husband and I put money into an education fund. We did the same for every biological grandchild. We know a little bit about investing in compound interest. By starting early, we can invest a little bit each month, and by the time they graduate high school, we'll be able to provide each one with enough money for a good start in life. For example, my oldest grandchild just graduated from high school. We were able to let them know that after scholarships and everything was taken into account, they would be graduating debt-free. We don't give any of them the money. We pay for tuition and fees and such. We learned our lesson from our youngest, our only son. We gave him the money we had for his 2 older sisters. He had scholarships as well, but he blew through the money we gave him and chose to become a tradesperson instead. He does very well and now owns his own successful business. He was married, but it didn't work out. We have 2 grandkids from that marriage. Last year, he married a very nice woman with a teen son. She had him very young, and it caused a rift in her family. None of them came to the wedding. My son approached us about money for his stepson's education. After my husband and I discussed it, we said we could afford to give him $5,000 to help out, but that was it. My son is very disappointed. He knows that all my other grandkids have enough money in their accounts to pay for at least 2.5 years of in-state tuition and expenses. He makes good money, but he also likes to spend it on toys and vacations. I don't think that he or my daughter-in-law has anything put away for his stepson. That's why we offered $5,000. My son and his wife are planning ahead for when he graduates in June, and they're still complaining that I'm treating him differently from our other grandkids. I know that we are, but we didn't have almost 2 decades to save for him. That $5,000 came out of my fund for when I needed to replace my car. Not the idiot. You didn't have a lengthy head start to save for this grandchild the way you did for the others. He can be upset that his kid won't have the same head start, but he can't be mad at you for being unable to offer more. Now it's up to him to provide. Exactly how are you supposed to know he would marry someone with a child already almost through school? Was he expecting a secret hidden college fund that you were saving in case a last-minute teen grandchild popped up? I don't think your son has realistic expectations of the last-minute situation. College funds are saved for years to amounts actually needed. It sounds like you were still trying to offer what you could manage. Try and sit down with your son and explain again after he's calmed down. Hey, Mom, here's a new teen grandson for you to give me money. What the? Your son can't be serious. He's acting like an entitled brat with no knowledge of economics, fairness, or appreciation. This is not about bio or bonus children. To me, it screams pure entitlement and possibly some messed up sibling rivalry from his side. Update. I've talked to my husband and son. My son wants me to take money from all the accounts and make one for his stepson. We counteroffered to split the 2 accounts we have for his biological children into 3 and split the $5,000 into them, and we will continue to contribute to the accounts until they get used. He seems unhappy with that option. "37 male and I, 40 female, divorced 3 years ago. We have a young teen daughter and a tween son. A huge part of why I filed for divorce is that my ex comes from generational wealth, but that wealth came with a lot of red tape, and there were like 3-4 omnipresent lawyers and accountants who treated heirs like they were going to turn them into spendthrifts one day. So during our entire marriage, when we could have done so much to invest and help others with the fortune my ex was blessed with, we were always told that this was technically not our money. Even worse was how my ex treated me. Everything in our marriage was divided into 2 categories. A, this is generational money, and we can only touch it if the powers that be think it's financially prudent. And B, this is what I inherited, so your name's not on it. I was finally sick of how everything I did during our marriage seemed to need permission. It was like marital privacy was not sacred, and my ex was upset I wasn't okay with it. Most people want to help their spouses succeed, and my ex could have stood up to the powers that be or done more to help me start a business, but he didn't. He inherited properties, but only our condo was in my name, and I left feeling that there was more to life and relationships that didn't come with all this red tape. After our divorce, we both moved on, but he moved on in a more serious way. Now he has a new wife, 29, and a kid, male toddler. She bounced between careers after college and then turned to showing houses 3 years ago. From her profile, she didn't have any real deals for 2 years, besides getting broker's fees from the very demand, much greater than supply, college student rental market. And I heard through the grapevine that her old boss occasionally tosses her a bone, again, mostly with college student duplexes. But now my kids were excited because their stepmom was having a party at one of their dad's properties, which is worth $1.4 million. Because my ex was selling and just gave her the listing, when she's never really sold anything, it felt like a slap in the face that while my ex never put my name on the property, and the property was ripped from my hands after our divorce like it was an open and shut case, he was letting her own at least 5%, and after it is appreciated. The party was all my kids could talk about, saying they were helping make posters and picking the food. My ex even bought my daughter a dress I was not consulted on. The last straw was my daughter saying stepmom deserved the listing and she was a great agent. I left the room and told my friend that my kids could either get along with me or their stepmom at this point. And unfortunately, my kids both heard. They're both angry but say the party is happening during Dad's weekend, so they're going. No side has apologized, and I'm miserable with this tension. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You need counseling because you're destroying your own well-being along with that of your children. Based on what you said, your husband's family had money and they kept tight control over it. It was never your money, so you need to get over it. Move on, live your life, and be happy your kids are loved and cared for by their father and stepmother. Exactly. With his inheritance, he was supposed to help you start a business, and also, you wanted to help others with his inheritance money? It sounds like the powers that be did a great job of keeping that money separate, as it should be. Your daughter's a young teen, and they're supposed to consult you before buying her a dress? Are you for real? Lady, you better turn this around so you don't lose your kids. Oh, I know it's funny watching a gold digger foam at the mouth because she didn't get the money. That money and those properties were being protected for her children from being frittered away by her and her ex, and she's all salty about it. The new wife isn't getting 5% ownership of the property. She's just getting a commission as the listing agent. Someone has to get it, and whether or not she's good at her job, it keeps the money in the family. The ex-husband is acting entirely in his own self-interest. Lady, you sound like a shallow and immature person who really needs to reassess their behavior and its effect on others, especially your family. You come off as very jealous, but at least your children seem to have a decent person in their lives, aka their stepmom. To think this is your side of the story, LOL. I would love to see your ex-husband's side, or better yet, the truth. I'm sure that would make you a clear winner of Mother of the Year. Good grief. I'm male 25 and my girlfriend 27 live together, and I own my own house. Recently, my girlfriend invited her mom to visit the city after not seeing her mom for a year. We offered for her to stay at my house in the guest bedroom. The mom isn't in the best financial situation, so my girlfriend figured this would be a great opportunity for her to experience something outside her small hometown. My girlfriend also warned me that her mom was very noisy beforehand. She stayed the past 2 days till I caught her in my home office while I was at work downtown. There's a Ring camera hidden in the office. On the camera, I saw her walk in and snoop around. She went through my file cabinets and looked at sensitive stuff, such as my tax returns, bank statements, and other documents. She also attempted to input the passcode on my safe multiple times, import documents like birth certificates, passports, and SS cards, as well as opening my laptop to see if it was unlocked. She didn't take anything but went through it all. When I got home from work, I immediately told her to leave the house because I didn't trust her or appreciate her going through my stuff. I also accused her of potentially stealing stuff because I didn't have cameras in the other parts of my house before kicking her out. My girlfriend didn't appreciate me kicking out her mom, leaving her to sleep in a motel my girlfriend paid for. My girlfriend thought I was exaggerating it, even after I showed her the footage. I thought I was valid for my actions. However, my girlfriend told me I was warned about her issues, then also told me it was my fault because I should have locked off that part of the house if I didn't want her going through it. I think I was justified for kicking her out. Not the idiot. Nosy in-laws, you're not married, but you know what I mean, are a bane in many relationships. She violated your trust and your space and tried to break into a locked safe. Like, who does that? Tell your girlfriend that her mother's behavior was unacceptable, and her justifying her mother's actions by blaming you is also unacceptable. You know what she's like? I warned you? Are not valid arguments. Her mother looked through sensitive information and tried to get into a safe. That's not excusable behavior. That's criminal. If your girlfriend doesn't see her mother's behavior as wrong, it's time to dump her too. It'll only get worse if she can't acknowledge how bad that is. Dude, since your girlfriend's mom is in financial trouble and went looking through your financial information, that's suspicious as heck. It was already bad enough, but I wouldn't doubt she was also fishing for information to manipulate her daughter and you into giving her money. As some have pointed out, make sure your financial info is secure. OMG, he needs to lock his credit now. People think that family means something to sociopaths or criminals. It doesn't. Parents steal from their kids. They defraud their kids. They ruin their kids' financial well-being, and they never lose a minute's sleep over it. It sounds like the girlfriend is a first-class enabler. It wouldn't surprise me if her mom had a history of fraud or other kinds of crime, but has been bailed out, possibly literally, or otherwise enabled by people around her. If I were OP, I'd start by changing the locks, locking my credit, preserving the video, and taking other measures to safeguard myself. If his girlfriend can't be trusted to take it seriously, I'd be reassessing my trust in her as well. We have my sister-in-law and husband coming to visit us, who recently had a baby. They're staying in our house and are, of course, welcome to everything, but I assume they take care of all their baby items. Sister-in-law keeps telling my husband to buy a bunch of stuff, like a $140 car seat, an $80 baby walker, a stroller, etc., because it's too much money to get it shipped or bring it with them, and she doesn't want to bring it with them. We got into a fight because I said that's BS, and she wants us to buy all this stuff, but my husband keeps saying it's his niece, and he loves her, so it's fine. As I mentioned, we don't have children, so all this brand new stuff will just go unused and take up storage after they leave. We can't technically afford to buy all this stuff, but we've spent a lot lately and actually agreed not to spend money right before this so we can replenish our savings. So am I the idiot? Edit just to add, they're just coming to hang out. It's not like we're making them come or like it's some sort of event or wedding, etc. Just coming to visit. Not the idiot. It is their baby, therefore their responsibility. Tell them you'll check the Goodwill to see if they have any of the baby items, but things like a car seat, they'll need to bring themselves. Your sister-in-law is too entitled. I wonder if it won't be too much of a hassle to ship all this stuff home after their visit. That's ridiculous. If she really needs all that stuff, she can buy or rent it when she's here. What are you supposed to do with these items when she leaves? Is the expectation that she takes them with her? In which case, she can bring her own with her. Or that they'll be stored at your place, i.e. go unused, emphasizing what a waste of money they were. Draw the line here, OP. No is a complete sentence. Just like when adults travel, baby can survive without 100% of the conveniences and equipment that we have at our own homes. You can change your diaper on a bed with a waterproof mat underneath. You give a bath in a regular tub, or you get in with them if you have to. If your husband buys all the baby stuff, he's doing it for the parents, not the baby, because the baby will never notice or know. Oh, and rest assured, anything you buy that gets little use will easily be sold on Marketplace or similar. Umbrella stroller used only for 2-week visit, like new, sell really, really well. My girlfriend of 3 months and I went on a 2-week-long vacation together. The flight back was delayed. We were supposed to land at 9 p.m., and we landed at 10:45 p.m. or so. To get home, I take a train from the airport. It takes under 10 minutes. I'm very close. The last trains were at 11 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. My girlfriend needs to take a train and a bus. It normally takes her about half an hour, but she told me she would just get a taxi since she feels unsafe in the area where she has to change, and she doesn't want to run after trains and buses. We weren't planning to go to mine and her place because we needed to be at the office the next day, and each of us lives right next to their workplace. Once we landed, I said that once they opened the doors, I would run to the train station and make it to the train at 11 p.m. My girlfriend seemed bothered. She didn't say anything and said everything was fine, but I could tell. It took a long time until they let us out. I didn't run and waited with her until she got a taxi, then waited for my last train for about 10 minutes and went home. Am I the idiot if I had run for the earlier train, or simply for wanting to do that? This making mountains out of molehills is going to come up a lot more in your relationship. For this scenario, not the idiot, you communicated your timeline and activities and confirmed that she was going to take the safer route. I can understand why you wanted to go home early. She has to consider your well-being too. I'm still saying you're the idiot because the only thing that kept you by her side is that you missed the 11 p.m. train. And you said to her face that you don't really care about her arriving safely to her place, even though there was another train 30 minutes later and you live very close. I know it's a fresh relationship, but bro, I tell you that she feels hurt, and I'm not blaming her. You only cared about yourself. Agreed. You are the idiot, OP, for not picking up on your girlfriend, saying she felt afraid at night. At that point, you should have said, I'll walk you to your taxi and then catch the train. Saying you were going to just take off once the doors opened was not very thoughtful. What a chivalrous thing to do. Of course, that would bother her. My wife, 36 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 12 years and have 3 young kids. We both work full-time, with me being the primary breadwinner and earning about 3 times what she does. About 4 months ago, she was offered a promotion at her job. It wasn't a big step up in pay, but would be a lot more responsibility, as well as being on call 3 to 4 nights a week. When she told me about it, she was really excited and acting like it was a huge opportunity to advance her career. I was happy for her, but I told her I had some concerns about how often she would be out of the house in the evenings and or how we would have to alter our schedules and routines due to her being on call. She assured me that being on call wasn't an issue and reiterated that she would be compensated for that time, even if she wasn't actually called in. I told her that ultimately it was her decision, but I feel like we live comfortably already, and the little extra money wouldn't be worth the hassle it would cause in our lives. She ended up taking the job, and wouldn't you know it, she ended up being called in about 50% of the time. This resulted in us having to find alternate rides for our kids to do activities, canceling plans, her leaving in the middle of dinner or family time, etc. I also had to pick up a lot of slack in terms of household duties and childcare. We've never fought as much as we've been since she took this promotion, but she's convinced it's a stepping stone to something better. I floated the idea of hiring a nanny for the night she's on call so that I have help in the inevitable situation where she gets called in again. Simply having another person to watch the kids if I need to take one of them to an activity or play date, or to be able to make dinner easier or get other chores done. She shot down the idea immediately and told me that me picking up her slack is not that big of a deal and I should be able to handle it. After a 3-week stretch of her being called in 3 nights a week, I told her that I was going to start looking into nannies with or without her agreement. I told her the only way I would reconsider is if she tries to get her old job back or look for a different one because her promotion is not working for me or the kids. She did not take this well. She accused me of being a lazy parent and trying to buy my way out of being a father. She also said that the cost of a nanny would offset any extra money her promotion is bringing in. When I told her it would actually cost more than that, she got extra angry. She has no time frame for how long she'll be in this position at work, and apparently has no care for my feelings on this. I'm tempted to just hire a nanny anyway, because this is not sustainable for me. I think this promotion has blinded her to how negatively it's impacted the rest of the family, and I refuse to just suck it up any longer. Edit. Our oldest 2 boys play hockey, and their practices are in the evening, never at the same time and sometimes not even in the same rink. Coordinating rides for them has been the primary source of me wanting a nanny. I'm asking a lot of favors from other parents, and I don't want to take advantage of anyone. Not the idiot. Coming from someone who has a spouse with an on-call job. We have 3 kids, and it frequently came up that at least 2 had activities at the same time, in opposite directions, and my husband was called in or stuck at work. If it hadn't been for my parents living close that could help out, we would have had to cut out the activities our kids had because it was impossible to be at all the activities at the same time. You are the idiot. I don't understand why you need a nanny for 3 nights a week if you're home. The tone of this reads as you not being supportive and pushing these kinds of issues, not necessarily because you're actually feeling overwhelmed. You don't actually talk about that at all. You just say you want someone just in case one of the kids has an appointment. But because you resent her trying to advance her career and are trying to make some kind of point about how it's an inconvenience, I might be misreading this situation. But none of this sounds healthy, and what she's doing doesn't sound unreasonable. I wonder how much of the doctor, dentist, sick kid stuff the dad takes care of. And I also wonder if it's an actual discussion about the promotion of him being all I, the important one, deems this as too inconvenient, and you shall not do it. My overall impression is that the wife took all the mental load with this stuff, and he wants to force her back into that, especially if he can tank her career by spending more money than they have to spare on a nanny he needs.